Lagos Traffic Radio 96.1 FM. We're back from the news, and it's time for us to resume that conversation with you. I've got my first guest on the program. Before I connect with her quickly, let's run you through the last update that we've got. Those of you navigating through the Ojota corridor, it's a very slow one at this time. It's the same in terms of the reason. It's all about the construction work at Odoyalaro, which is really affecting your movement. All right, so you just need to be very cautious around that corridor. Taking you through the Lagos-Abeokuta Expressway, precisely by the Kola end. I understand after several efforts by traffic managers, Kola and its environs has been sanitized at the moment. That's very good news. So motorists are now enjoying seamless movement along that particular corridor. That's a very good one this morning. I know within that end, you have lots of vehicles flouting the traffic laws from time to time, parking indiscriminately. But I hear now intervention has been brought forth by the traffic managers and is looking pretty cool. Taking you to the eastern side of town, or perhaps the Ibejuleki end, movement from the deep sea port to Dangote refinery still looking very good at the moment. No impediment cited whatsoever. Pinnacle and of course environs, as well as areas like Imobido, all those areas are still looking pretty cool. Most of the areas we're covering within that end is looking lovely as well. Okay, then, so you can always feel free to connect with us at every point in time. If you see anything on the road, be willing to report, or perhaps if your travel experience is not what we are narrating at the moment, you can always reach out to us, and then we'll be able to escalate that to the next level. Even with our live cameras, we can do some magic for you this great Friday morning. Okay, so on the first segment of the program, we're looking at circular economy and the imperatives for robust development of Lagos. You might be asking, what is circular economy? What are the prospects of we really tapping into a circular economy in Lagos? And what are the challenges that might confront us? Well, I do not know the answers. My guests will surely provide answers in that direction. And I'm bringing her to the microphone right now. I'm going to be speaking with Mrs. Titilayo Oshodi, who is the special advisor to the governor on climate change and circular economy. Madam, it's nice to have you on our program. Good morning.
Thank you so much, Mr. Oteri. How are you doing?
Very, very good. So how is the morning looking like where you are in Lagos? What part of Lagos are you, by the way?
I'm actually at Kofa Barame right now, right on the island.
Okay, so the weather must be very cool there, just as it is here.
Yeah, it's looking like it's going to shower a bit, but it's bright, and I still see the sun coming up. So
yes. So
we're hopeful for a good day.
Yeah, it's a clement weather. You guys are much closer to the sea, so you're very friendly with the waterways. All right, so
absolutely.
Yeah, so Mrs. Oshodi, perhaps the most convenient reference point to begin our conversation this morning is to demystify the concept of circular economy. So if you are to break it down for my listeners this morning, how would you define circular economy?
Good morning. Thank you so much once again for this time. Circular economy is essentially a model around how to manage your waste or how to minimize your waste. I'm being very, very careful right now not to even use any highfalutin or technical words, because I believe that Traffic FM is designed for the larger population. A lot of it's a cross section of demographic.
Right.
So I want to ensure that I'm numbing down a lot of the terms that I'm going to be using. I'm going to be quite mindful of that.
Okay.
So circular economy is essentially around how you move away from the linear economy, which is the practice that is prevalent amongst us.
Okay.
We pick up an item, we use, we drop it, and then we go. Right? Unlike that process of taking and making and just disposing, circular economy introduces models around recycling, reusing, refurbishing, repurposing, upcycling depending on what's the material or what's the item of waste.
Right.
I also do not want to continue to use the word waste, because the truth about it is that every waste that we generate right now within the framework of circular economy is a resource.
Okay, I'm going to come to that. So, but is this a new concept, or has it always been in existence?
I don't think so. I think we just need to take it a notch up. And let me give you an example. Normally at home, even with our mothers, you remember, and you may agree with me, that there are times when you have finished eating and we have quite a number of different items that have been used and are left in the fridge.
Right.
And, our mothers will look at it and would not want to waste it, especially from an economic perspective. So they will try and concoct and put something together. And this is where concoction rice came from. This is where ila alatepo came from.
Right.
So the idea of repurposing or re-engineering an existing situation or an existing paradigm or model is pretty much the same principle around circular economy.
Okay, so we've heard of blue economy, we've heard of socialist economy, mixed economy, and even you mentioned linear economy. How different is circular economy to all these ones?
So with circular economy, what we're saying now is that when we start to produce items now, it's important that we begin to incorporate the design of whatever it is that we're producing to be longitudinal, on a longevity purpose. Do you understand?
Right.
So we need to start designing products to have longer lasting period of time, longer lasting time frame, right? So that we're able to reduce the need for new resources. We also, within the space of circular economy, should incorporate models around resource recovery, so that even the materials that are wasted can be recovered and they can be reused in production processes. And that's where a lot of our corporations, our multinationals right now, that is where they begin to drive their own models and their framework. There's something that is called the EPR, the Extended Producer's Responsibility.
All right.
So companies like Coca-Cola, those who produce the FMCGs, who produce our commodities, our essential commodities, begin to establish model where they can recover the resource, they can recover the materials, the waste that come in the packaging of the products and services that they provide.
All right. So, Honorable Oshodi, I need you to also drive this. I love the way you are breaking this down for our listeners this morning. But let's begin to situate all of this within the developmental framework of Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu. So, we are running with a template which is called the Themes Plus Agenda. So, where do we situate the circular economy in all of this?
So I'm happy that you've asked that question, because it's very exciting that within the pillar of making Lagos a 21st century economy, our businesses right now are being designed. We're beginning to work with businesses so that we can establish a framework or a model where there are linkages between government and businesses. There are linkages between businesses and businesses. For instance, our PET bottles, and PET bottles are essentially the bottled water, right?
Right.
These bottles have become an essential commodity. They have become a resource in a way that our MSMEs are beginning to capture and harvest bottles. So from a household, every kitchen that is accessible or that generates bottled water can harvest their bottles, their PET bottles, and they can exchange it for value with MSMEs that are working within that space to generate revenue for whoever it is that would like to exchange their value,
Right.
their waste for value.
So what would you say to the observer, or perhaps those who have the feeling that this sounds like a duplication of efforts against what exists with the Ministry of the Environment, precisely with the waste management component?
So the Ministry of Environment essentially drives the policy. They drive the, if you would look at what has been done over the period of years, they're establishing the projects that guide infrastructure for circular economy as a tool for climate change. The drainages that is being blocked is as a result of a mismanagement or an irresponsible disposal of plastics and PET bottles and every other item that is a waste material.
Right.
Okay. Ministry of Environment says you guys need to stop doing this, because instead of throwing these things away, you can harvest them for value. But on the other hand, because we will enforce, as government would normally do, we would put policies in place for you to deter you from doing that. We will also ensure that the effect of this behavior, this irresponsible disposal, we will ensure that we remove the stumbling blocks, we remove the impediments. The drainages, we're going to work on it, we're going to clear them, and apparatuses or buildings or areas that are hindering the easy flow or that is causing the impact of this disposal of waste.
Right.
In terms of flooding, the effect of how it is affected our climate, that it is resulting in so many aspects. We will address those areas. We will clean it. We will, and informal settings, people who are settling in places that are not hygienic for them,
right.
People who are blocking drainages, people who are setting up buildings and estates. We will look at all of those. We will ensure that things are done in the proper place.
All right. So
we are like,
right.
We are like, if you can call it, we are like the COP, the ones that say, okay, now that there is this stick approach, we will bring in the carrot approach. We will tell you that instead of throwing these things, you actually can make money from them. You can generate money from them. So it's even better for you not to throw it away.
Right.
Throwing it away affects your lifestyle. But
okay.
Taking it a notch further, you can make something out of that.
All right. So we get to that point where people can really, really understand the basis of all of this. But for clearer understanding, where is the Office of Climate Change and Circular Economy? Where is it domiciled? Under which ministry?
It is domiciled under the Ministry of Economic Planning and Budget.
Oh, okay, good. So let's get that clear, because economy is there. And since we're talking about something that is very, very big on resources, then definitely,
absolutely,
like you said, it must be plugged there. So let's look at the components. What are the components of the circular economy? How many components do you have under it?
You have the components of economic empowerment. You have the components of economic development. You have the components of resource management. You have resource efficiency. In all of these components that I have mentioned, there is a budgetary appropriation seated within it. With the Ministry of Economic and Planning,
right,
you plan budgetary allocations. You plan, what ministries and how they have set up their framework, and the appropriate monetary support that is needed for them to be able to achieve their tasks and their framework.
Right.
Now, if I said today that we have a project, and within that project we are establishing a collection facility where our communities can go and dispose waste, and they can have value in terms of funding, or they can access social amenities. You know that with Lagos State government, we have a lot of infrastructure that are seated within the mandates of various ministries.
That's right.
So let's say, for instance, the Ministry of Commerce, the Ministry of Agriculture, the Ministry of Energy. So if I have a project and I say that there is a collection center, and if you go to that place, within the Ministry of Agriculture, I can have a government to government arrangement and say, whoever wants to exchange their waste for maybe a bag of rice, depending on how we have worked out the standard billing or the standard pricing mechanism, right? They can have it in exchange. I can have that kind of, arrangement with Ministry of Agriculture. I will reference one of the projects that we have just finished. It's called the Leave No One Behind.
Right.
So what we have done is turn a facility somewhere in Idiaraba into a collection center. But first, we instituted a level of competency in the students that are in that facility.
All right. We'll still talk about what you have done and what you are doing, Honorable.
I just want to talk about how we're able to work together, how we're able to drive resource efficiency through various ministries.
Which is
in our collaboration, we can actually use waste as a currency to access and drive the mandate of other ministries within the value of circular economy.
Which is very, very good. So, Honorable Oshodi, let's put it in proper perspective now. When we talk about money, people's ears begin to twitch and, the eyes begin to glow. So, let's make a reference now. You are addressing millions of Lagosians this morning. Let's assume this is a new concept that most people do not understand. Lagos State is running at a budget of over 2.something trillion naira. How much can the circular economy bring to this budget?
Well, first and foremost, I think that, circular economy is going to be the next frontier. If I reference the Manufacturing Africa reports, it says that there are economic opportunities within waste management in terms of conversion of different types of waste, and it aggregated it into over 1 trillion.
Wow.
Right. It aggregated it into, and I'm talking about different waste. We're talking about aluminum cans. We're talking about paper. We're talking about plastics. We're talking about textile.
Right.
We're talking about glass. Do you understand? It aggregated it because, number one, you need to also understand that we are a country, a society that generates a lot of waste, and we do not have a resource management mindset. So if we now start to transition away from that mindset to holding on and looking for ways to reinvent or looking for ways to revalidate or revalue our waste, you will then see that there is immense economic opportunity sitting in them.
All right. So at the moment, we are standing at ground zero. Is that what it means? I mean, we are hardly generating anything. All we're just thinking about right now, waste is waste, and we're dumping it. We're throwing it anywhere.
Well, but I wouldn't say that we're generating nothing, because I know that Loma already has started along that along that phase. We know what they're doing, with the landfills, but we have not started to fully optimize the waste that lands there.
Right.
And that's why, if I need to aggregate, they say that we're on a 4% level of optimizing of waste there. So we're still very low, but it's not to say that we're on ground zero.
Okay.
Right?
So I'm just trying to, make the clarification. I mean, 1 trillion naira is like a gazillion times much better than where we are at the moment. And that should speak of positivity to the ears of every Lagosian this morning. I mean, if you're able to really, really harness what it means and what it takes, that means Lagos will definitely be on the right trajectory. But taking it to the next level, Honorable Oshodi. So what are you going to be doing now with the circular economy? How are we going to be putting the bits and pieces together for us to actualize all of this? What have you done? What are you doing?
Okay, so I was referencing one of the pilots that we ran, and simply because we wanted to be able to simulate a template, just to give us a little bit more insight, and we can draw some level of empirical data. So at that facility, what we did was build competence amongst the girls there to help them to see the possibility of how to convert their waste, their plastic waste, into something that is more functional, something more formidable. So they were able to make interior decoration items. They were able to make fashion accessories and, arts and crafts. And then we established a model for the conversion of organic waste into green energy. And we did that through the support of a business. So one foremost, we were able to establish a linkage from government to business, right? To have them establish and build a biodigester,
right,
that harvests organic waste. And what is organic waste? The waste that we generate from our kitchen, food, remnants of food, vegetables, fruits, plastics that can, paper that can easily degenerate. If you put all of that mess together, mixed with oil and everything, that is a sort of waste that is generated from kitchen and various eateries and all of that. Okay.
Right.
Now there is a use for it. So those sort of waste is what the biodigester harvests, and then they decompose, and through a chemical process, they begin to emit methane. Methane gas is the gas that really just flickers and blows itself up at the landfills. If you can take your mind back. So deliberately channeling that gas into the kitchen of that facility so that they can have use for it for cooking. So what has happened is that we have reduced the cost of LPG gas. We have that data right now, that instead of buying two gas jars every month, there is, I think it's a 25 kg gas, the LPG gas.
Right.
They have been able to reduce it to one. So they use the other green gas that comes from the biodigester to cook. So they have reduced costs there.
All right.
Then there is a byproduct that is delivered from the chemical production of the methane gas, and it is an organic fertilizer.
Okay.
These girls use this fertilizer to wet a farmland that they have started to cultivate.
And where is that farmland? Right? Where is that?
That farmland is in that facility in itself. Okay. So they have vegetables, they have fruits, they have crops that they can use for feeding, giving them access to good, nutritious food, cutting the cost of procurement of food also to a very, very great extent. So you would see how we have established some form of ecosystem. Now, that facility has been designated for collection. We have also partnered with aggregators. We have partnered with business enterprises, aggregators who collect plastic, PET bottles, and every other form of waste in exchange for either recharge cards. We have partnered with a telco company who also wants to have adoption, right? So we have partnered with them. People can come in there and drop their waste in exchange for recharge card or for data, or they can come in there for an item, because we have also partnered with corporate organizations, either for a pack of Indomie, or for a pack of macaroni or spaghetti, or for a pack of, we have that arrangement there. Or you want to come and have it in exchange for a discount in your social amenity.
All right, you're going to give me.
Also partnered with the government ministry.
Right, just give me
government ministries in that space.
All right, which is very good. Just give me a few seconds. Lagos Traffic Radio 96.1 FM. If you're wondering who is speaking with me so eloquently this morning, as we reflect on circular economy and imperatives for robust development of Lagos, I have Honorable Titilayo Oshodi. She's a special advisor to the governor on climate change and circular economy. Taking you through the traffic report right now, Ikorodu. Very good vehicular movement from the trailer park inwards Odogunyo. It's looking pretty good up to NMPC. Free moving traffic inwards Flower and Flower, second, and of course First Gate. And then First Gate connecting Okegbegun Sawmill inwards Lasma Yard. And the I Foundation up to Sabo Roundabout is also looking very good as we speak. Appreciable vehicular movement as well from Sabo Roundabout inwards Power Line. All those areas looking good. Better movement inwards Ikurudu Roundabout proper up to Primero is looking good. Slight delays inwards Unity and Benson due to bus stop activities. We can also tell you that the return trip is moving at a very, very fast pace. The Apapa N2 is also looking good. Otto Wharf is looking good. Down to Coconut, also very, very good. First gate, inward, second gate is also looking good as well. And then we can tell you Liverpool Bridge connecting underneath the bridge is looking good too. And then Marine Road, in and out, very good. And then Trevor inwards Niger, also looking good. Niger is busy due to articulated trucks negotiating towards the Wharf Gate. And then the return journey from Wharf Gate inwards Glaxo down to Liverpool underneath the bridge is also good. All right, then. So we're going to expand the discourse beyond the studios now to also have your input. So if you have been listening and you've been tracking what the special advisor to Mr. Governor has been speaking on, we're actually making reference to the circular economy. Have you heard about it before? And if not, from what you have said so far, so good. What do you make of it? You can also connect with us, and that's on 08099120777 and 09153877127. All right, so you've spoken about some of the things that you've done, and I know you have some pilot projects which the circular economy has been working on. You've spoken about one of them, but talk to us more about some others that you have in the pipeline.
Okay, so like I said again, these are initiatives that we have designed essentially for our communities, especially the rural community, the coastal communities, because they are the ones that are at the receiving end of the harsh impacts of climate change. And like I said again, that circular economy is a tool that we have adopted to be able to address the issue of climate change and the impact of it. Also understanding that our economic development is not as high up, it is not as advanced as the global north, Europe or America. So therefore, we have to establish a differentiated approach to how to address the issue of climate change. And it would be seated comfortably in educating and advocating our people on how to manage their waste, how to drive the mindset for resourceful, efficient use of their waste.
Right.
So from their plastics to their paper to their clothing, there are inherent economic opportunities. There are inherent revenue generating ideas that can be pulled from how they manage this waste. And
right.
The mass market, if you know that we have 65% of the population in the informal setting. So therefore, our interventions are purposefully designed to connect with them on a one-on-one basis.
All right.
So we have a market, we have a trail.
All right. I've got some questions
that into various communities like that.
So some questions are coming in for you right here in the studios on our WhatsApp platform. 08099120777. This one says, "Good morning, Victor. My question to the SA is that how does the Leave No One Behind initiative fit into Lagos Circular Economy Plan?" You didn't put your name, by the way. But Special Advisor, that's a question for you. So how does the Leave No One Behind fit into this?
So like I was explaining that the Leave No One Behind is just a model. It's a model that we have used to drive the possibility of entrenching circular education, circular participation, circular enlightenment into communities. Remember that I said that we purposefully do a case study from a facility. Now, that facility harbors a couple of children, about 50 of them, and there is also some communities around them. So we have turned that facility into a collection center. We are working with business enterprises who already have started to pursue circular and sustainable practices. So there are companies and there are innovators right now who aggregate and who work with partakers and partners to get carbon credits. So that's why they can have the sort of, wealth or funding that they can use to give and sell people and sell, and collect waste in exchange for money. Now, 1 kilogram of PET bottle, and that is aggregately about 20 PET bottles, sells for 600 naira.
Wow.
Right, and we have quite a number of practitioners and enterprises who do that. There's Spacam, there's Recyclers, there's Retreasure. There's quite a number of them. So our own job as a government is to enable the expansion of the operations of businesses like this, and also open up the space for market entry for young ones who want to enter into that business. So the Leave No One Behind has so many nodes inherent in it that is also replicable for other communities.
Okay.
I talked to you about the people, the businesses, the telco business that we partnered with.
Right.
I spoke to you about the various MDAs. For instance, LASRA has what you call the LAG ID.
Okay.
That LAG ID is a platform where you can access, it has a financial component to it. You can use it as a debit card.
Okay.
It has access to for the Cowrie card. The Cowrie card works for Lamata at the Ministry of Transport.
Right.
You can actually access you can use that card to access transport services, both on the rail, on the bus, and on water. Right. You also can have access to health insurance. So you will see how we are establishing linkages using waste as a currency for you to be able to have access to this social amenity.
All right. So many incentives.
And that is one of the things that is within the pillar of making Lagos State a 21st century economy.
Beautiful. All right. Another question here says, good morning, Traffic Radio. I am really enjoying the conversation. It says, how is Lagos using circular economy to help marginalized communities economically? Soji from grammar school is sending that one in.
Circular economy is primarily and predominantly designed for the marginalized economy, the marginalized community.
Okay.
Yes. Because they are the rural ones. They are the ones that the infrastructure, like I said again, that they are in the informal setting. So in terms of economic distribution, in terms of distribution of income, because they are in the interlands, infrastructure does not necessarily or readily get to them. So what we're doing is enabling empowerment by internally by themselves. If they're able to see that they can establish ecosystems that can help them to generate revenue, that can also help them to leverage technology, right? Then they empower themselves and they can build the sort of resilience that we need for them to build against the impact of climate change.
All right, we have to begin to round this.
Primarily designed.
Right, so we have to begin to round.
Yeah,
so we have to begin to round this up now. But more questions are coming in for you. This one says, "Good morning. Thank God it's Friday. What are the special policies and incentives that Lagos State has introduced to encourage businesses to transition towards circular economy practices?" Chris is sending that one in. Another one here says, "Hello, Victor. I am Jamal. Please, how is Lagos State integrating the informal sector, especially waste pickers, into its circular economy framework to ensure a more inclusive approach?" All right. In fact, the questions are just coming in, but we have to round this up now. So maybe you just respond to these two before we round off now. So what specific policies and incentives is Lagos State introducing to integrate and encourage businesses to transit?
So first, that if we're talking about our businesses, we know that from the angle of, establishing a policy, we're beginning to develop a framework around that, because it will also link into the other question, which is there are informal practitioners. There are people that still need to be integrated into a structure. And when you want to do that, like I said at one of the interviews, that designing a policy takes a lot of notes. There are lots of fiduciary processes. There are lots of, angling and also structures economic, environment, social that you need to take into consideration. But there are also within the climate change plans, especially within the Sustainable Development Goals, there are what you call the economic, environment, social, and governance promises. It's called the EESG. And what it means is that every corporation or every business have a responsibility to affect their economic landscape where they're domiciled, to affect the environmental landscape, to affect the social landscape in terms of what level of impact have they driven on the people where their companies are situated, and then what level of transparency and inclusivity are they driving. So when you're talking about incentives, these businesses have a responsibility to incentivize people who want to get onto the circular economy or the sustainability journey.
All right.
Government then has the responsibility to ensure that they have ease of doing business, that they have access to market, and then we can also give them opportunity to be able to scale their businesses through different knowledge transfer or even connectivity or linkages with bigger corporations.
Okay.
So there are lots of, we can talk about that, and it will be seated within the EESG framework. But that is quite a bit of a technical thing.
We have to round this all up now, Madam. I must say a very big thank you to you, and I'm hoping that we can get you into the studio and we can have much more interaction and enlightenment of this to the listening public. I hope we can do that very, very soon as well.
I hope so too. Thank you very much. Thank you, Lagos, for the time out.
All right, then. So I've been speaking with the special advisor to the governor on climate change and circular economy, and we've been reflecting on the role the circular economy can play for robust development of Lagos. Let me say a very big shout out to Busola Aroloye, who is the Chief Public Affairs Officer for the Ministry of Economic Planning and Budget, working tirelessly behind the scene for this program to come on stream this morning. All right, we're going to take a short break right now. When we return, it'll be time to do our birthdays.